But this is actually recording because last month, if you'll remember, or maybe you don't, I had to record yours twice. But you're up second this time around. We're going in reverse chronological zodiacal order. So you are the 11th sign of the zodiac, but today you're number 2. So last month, you guys had kind of the roughest. You had the roughest of the readings, without a doubt. It was a lot of just kind of like high emotional intensity stuff coming at you pretty rapid fire. A lot of it was just like, hey, can we withstand kind of the emotional intensity? We know it's going to be coming. We know it's something we're going to have to deal with. Let's kind of gird ourselves and prepare for what we're facing. Astrologically, there just wasn't a lot of like relief, let's say, for you, Aquarius, in July. August, it's not more of the same. It's kind of a similar type of astrological weather, but you're being offered a few more lifelines. There's a lot more support being offered. It's kind of up to you to pick up the phone or like use that as a lifeline, right? That show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That show, you had your lifelines. You could call a friend. It's like, do you actually choose to use those lifelines? Is it something you're comfortable doing? Is it something that you're able to access, or will that feel kind of like you're giving up, or it's like weakness or something like that? It's not. So you do still have Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. This is for Aquarius sun signs, limiting your ability to act and maneuver, right? So this is just one of those things where it's like, it's Uranus wants to evoke change and kind of grand scale, circumstantial, just like evolution and kind of exploring different areas, and Jupiter wants to expand and experience new things and grow and blossom. And you kind of have your Uranus and Jupiter like limiting your ability to kind of act and maneuver in situations here. So it may feel a little bit restrictive in terms of your ability to kind of like get through things or work through stuff, but it's not really like a limiting factor, so to speak. It's just the conditions that you find yourself in like aren't the best time to like express your freedom and independence and flexibility and kind of go your own path and forge your own ground. And obviously that is a large part of anyone's life, like picking up the mantle, going and like fighting for what they believe in, going their own path, blazing their own trail, like that type of stuff. But it's like you might feel a little bit kind of imposed upon energetically this month. And then on top of that, you have the Sun and Venus in Leo, kind of making it harder to actually like realize and achieve the desires you have set up for yourself or that you're feeling. And again, it's not that you won't experience these things. It's just that like there's a little bit of restrictive energy following through from July astrologically. This is the time where you really like are being asked to go within and develop that inner resilience, where you can work through challenging conditions that maybe aren't like as smooth as you'd like them to be. Okay, one thing, and I think this was also really important for July, and this continues with this theme, is don't lock on to a single perspective this month and like doggedly pursue that only. Try to be as open-minded as possible. And if you feel that being tested, and it's kind of like hard to operate from a multi-perspectival point of view or views, like just remember that's going to make things feel a little bit smoother for you if you're able to actually do that, right? Explore alternative ways of thinking. If you've been coming at a challenging issue or problem or situation from one way, primarily just one angle, try to see how you can get to it through different angles. That's probably, it's going to make things be a lot easier if you can look at things from a multi-perspectival point of view rather than just locking in tunnel vision. This is the way it is. No one's going to move me off this mark, right? Also, it's important this month to really acknowledge, listen, acknowledging doesn't mean you have to agree with, okay? Let's be clear about that. But acknowledging and addressing fears and concerns from people around you, not necessarily about your life, but just their fears and concerns in general. Don't downplay those. Don't kind of minimize those for other people. Because no one likes it when fears are kind of minimized. Yes, there is a way to kind of put fear in perspective and not have it be something that consumes you and kind of runs and rules your life. But there's also another part of it where, like, you know, you want to be acknowledging and realistic about any fears those people around you or you might have. And it doesn't have to just be others, right? This helps foster an environment basically where there's like understanding and reassurance that can help alleviate stresses for you ultimately. Your network of friends and partners and family are going to help you through these months of kind of emotional, I don't want to say turbulence, but like emotional kind of like challenges that may be coming your way. So really like embrace any support and assistance you can get from people around you. That's going to be another kind of critical month to do that. It is kind of like a lot of internal transformative stuff going on for you this summer. I don't know why, it's the summer of feels for you, Aquarius, but it is. Well, I know some of the reasons why astrologically, but it is just kind of one of those situations cosmically where you are being asked to kind of internally go in and really like look at what's going on internally and see how that's kind of creating your situation out in the world. So the first major kind of planetary transit that we have is August 1st, right when it rolls through, we have a full moon. And it's the first of 2 full moons this month in August, or this coming month, and it's called a sturgeon moon. And it's a particularly big moon as it pertains to like where we see them visually in the sky. It will appear very close to Earth. And this just highlights how important kind of emotionally this is going to be for you. It's in your sign. It's right as the month gets started. It's a big deal. And it's a lot about letting go and kind of examining what's going on with you emotionally and what just like isn't vibing anymore. Like, is it a current relationship? Is it a career path? Is there just someone in your life who you feel maybe is just like kind of tethering you down a little bit? Really reviewing and kind of acknowledging those situations and seeing if they're serving you is going to be like a big theme throughout August, and you're really getting hit with it right as the month kicks off with a full moon in your sign rather. So there's what I would describe as kind of like an evenly dispersed group of challenging energy for you, Aquarius. So it's not like you're going to get blasted all at once and have these like big intense periods. It's kind of like an even distribution moving through various signs. But the idea to keep in mind this month is being as open-minded as possible, right? Really being able to come at things from different perspectives and ways of feeling is going to be your best friend. And then again, if there's anyone out there in your life offering you support, guidance, clarity, help, insight, be receptive to that, right? Not just to humor them, but actually because they may have some info or wisdom or something that helps you kind of get through a challenging situation that maybe you didn't think of, or maybe you were a little closed off towards. So, this full moon is your first blast of energy right in your sign, right as the month gets rolling on. I know July was also kind of a challenging month in terms of just dealing with like internal stuff. August is not that exact energy again, but it's like of a similar vein. Like maybe like you can think of it like types of food. Like maybe you had Chinese food in July. You're going to be having like sushi. It's another type of Asian food, or maybe it's Thai food. You're in the Asian food realm. So it's a similar type of cuisine, but within the actual differences of like the different countries and where the cuisine comes from is different flavors. There's different things that are accentuated, but it's the same realm. It's the same kind of emotional timbral like quality, right? So that's okay. It's okay. It's really like for you, it is a huge point of like personal growth and transformation, and really also trying to get you to step out of your comfort zone. And one of the annoying things with stepping out of our comfort zones is that like we actually have to step out of our comfort zones, and that's not comfortable. So, it's like, it sounds great when you hear that platitude, like, yeah, just step out of your comfort zone. It's going to help you grow and change into a person. You're like, cool, yeah. But like, it's actually uncomfortable when we do that. But that is part of the process for getting you to look at who you are, just kind of where you're sitting and feeling emotionally as you go through potentially challenging situations. Also keeping an eye and ear open to who's like with you on this, who's really there to support and help you as you go through these things. Who's the person who's genuinely listening to what you have going on and really like hearing what you're saying and offering solutions or potential advice or wisdom that helps you get through stuff. Like that's who you're supposed to be like really like gelling with and spending time with. So emotional intensity is kind of the key theme, and it's just like you may be feeling more sensitive throughout this month. There's 2 full moons. That's an intense kind of energy for anyone to go through, and the first full moon starts the very first month of August for you. So it's just, it is what it is, but this is, again, a really great month for collaboration. We can see this kind of reflected here in the cards, right? So we'll start here with the 4 of, I've already changed, by the way, the camera layout. I had a different one for Pisces. Maybe we'll do 12 different ones this month. I'm just trying to get like the more of the emphasis on the cards up top. We have your sign, your little constellation there. It's not little, Aquarius. They're your beautiful constellation there. And then me here. But I don't know about this angle because the camera's kind of low and where I have it positioned. We'll figure it out. We can see a lot more. I'm not sure if we're going to go with this. But anyway, we have the 4 of Pentacles, the Fool reversed, and then the Empress. So when we're talking about the 4 of Pentacles, this is definitely related to ideas of security. Now, when we see Pentacles, we can immediately think like finances, money, things of that nature. But really, it's just an earth sign signifying material things in general. And that doesn't just have to be finances. It doesn't just have to be career or money. It's really anything in the world. And what it really is speaking to is your feeling of emotional, not emotional, but security, feelings of security. Of course, it can include emotional security, but really it's just that overall feeling of like feeling like financially secure, like you're going in the right direction. But with the 4 of Pentacles, this is like you don't want to be too tight about that. You don't want to prioritize feeling comfortable above everything else, right? That restricts your ability to grow and change and process things. So if you're feeling overly tight, like you're holding on to something, whether it's an emotional state, could be actual money, could be something that represents power for you, whether in an interpersonal relationship or just like in a business sense or a contractual thing. It's like you're clinging a little bit too tight to that. And that can lead to some misguided judgments and opinions when we're just like holding on a little bit too tight. So you want to just be aware of any situation that maybe you're clinging to a little more strongly than you know or feel is kind of beneficial for you. And this certainly could apply to realms of money when it comes to spending, you know, being like overly tight or overly restrictive kind of begets a lack mentality. It's like you have to be very careful with how you're spending your resources. So naturally that leads to kind of like a pullback of that energy. And again, it's not just financial or money things. That can be with your time, that can be with your feelings or your just like ability to spend being communion with someone and like hang out. Like don't be so restrictive that you're kind of like cutting off opportunities to see things. And again, this is a month of really getting together or accepting help from all of the different areas in your life where it comes to you, and not kind of trying to do everything by yourself, because it's just it's going to be more difficult. And the more you are aware of other people's feelings and how they feel about your actions and vice versa, how you feel about their actions, you're going to be able to like actually get through a lot of this emotional sensitivity stuff. And it's like a sensitive thing. It's like if you think you have like a tooth and it's a little sensitive, it's not like it's killing you and you need to get it extracted. It's so fucking painful. It's just like, you know, maybe when you drink something really hot or really cold, you're like, oh, I should pay attention to that. Maybe I should floss or brush a little bit more. It's not like a doomsday scenario where you need a root canal or something. It's just like a little signifier that like, you know, you could probably do something in this area. The Fool reverse also indicates a willingness on one level, a subconscious, unconscious level, to want to pursue some new activity, some new project, some new way of being, whether that's in a romantic relationship, if you have a Venus placement in Aquarius, or a new career, a new path, a new hobby, even maybe even like pursuing an artistic kind of talent, but also feeling like maybe you're not totally ready to do that yet. Now, a feeling of being ready is something that we kind of idealize in our heads, that we're going to know that this is the time. Now we're ready. We've all our ducks in a row. Now we can move. Now we can take that action to get the thing done. And rarely is it actually like that when we're making kind of a big step in a new direction. You don't actually get the luxury of having all of your ducks in a row. You kind of just have to leap sometimes before you look. And that's not a comfortable thing. But this month isn't necessarily about comfort for you, right, Aquarius? This month is about growth, tuning into your emotions and transformation. So if you prioritize comfort over growth, you're probably going to have like a challenging kind of friction-y, turbulent, distorty type of month. But if you recognize that some of these challenges and chaos and turbulence are actually to help get you grow and expand and like take that leap of faith, then you're probably going to have a much better time and kind of see through maybe the objective kind of setbacks or difficulties and see that they're absolutely catalysts for key inner growth and development, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to hang on to in terms of perspective for these. It really was July and August for you. August is a lot lighter. Well, I won't say a lot lighter. It's lighter than July emotionally, but it's still a very emotionally charged month for you, Aquarius, and you're just being asked to do a lot of the heavy lifting. While you are an air sign, you are the water bearer. You certainly carry emotions. Carrying those around and carrying water certainly has to do with your emotional body. And it's a very kind of alchemical sign. Like it's a big sign in terms of like shifting and having a lot of energies swirling around it, a lot of emotions, and that's just going to be pinging. And then we get Venus here, meteorology. We get Venus here just reminding us that, listen, Venus is kind of pulling some shit this month, all right? It's retrograding through a bunch of different signs. Like it's not hanging out. She's going backwards, but it's not backwards in the sense like you're undoing positive things that have happened. It's retrograde in a sense that we're looking back on situations typically related to love, communication, being with people, definitely romantic and intimate situations as well, reviewing those situations and being like, okay, like what's going on here? Like what's actually going on? How do I feel about this? What can I remain mindful about in terms of me looking at my emotional relationships, right? Sensing and sussing out how other people are feeling about you. How are your actions affecting other people? What could be some of the outcomes that come from your actions related to other people? Empathy is a key word for this month for you, Aquarius. And you also need to really, like I said, I'm going to keep hammering this point, accept help from other people. Like that's going to be your cheat code for August, Aquarius. The more you're able to accept help, genuinely, authentically, without, being prideful or kind of whiny or like, I don't want to do it. Like just genuinely accept help from other people. I think you'll be surprised just how many people are out there willing to help you, who you've probably helped in the past and haven't even really thought twice about it, who are willing to be there for you in a heartbeat. And B, it's going to help you navigate these challenges with that added perspective, which really allows you to move through some of these things gracefully. Whereas if you don't have that, it can start to feel a little bit overwhelming and, kind of like crushing, right? And that's, obviously, if we could choose between moving through a situation gracefully or getting crushed by the objective weight of the situation, I think we would choose the former, maybe. Unless you're just a glutton for punishment, which if you are, Aquarius, you're probably loving July and August. Like what fun months for punishment. And it's not punishment, obviously, like I'm making a joke. It is just these are catalysts and situations that can serve kind of a higher form of growth and transformation for you. Okay. Five of Swords. And this is, again, this really gets to the perspective aspect of it. Ace of Wands and Knight of Swords. So there is going to be some speed. We get two swords here, right? And a wand in the middle. So, Five of Swords here reversed. So Five of Swords reversed. This is where, again, we're being open to other people's perspectives. Five of Swords upright is like domination. It's like winning at all costs. It's like, I kicked your ass and I took your swords. Now you got to go deal with it. Haha, I'm the shit. And on the surface, it's kind of like, that's cool. You won the battle. But on like another deeper level, it's like, oh, but you're kind of a dick. And like, no one really wants to win and be a dick. A sore winner is just as not cool as a sore loser, right? I mean, at least the loser has a potential reason for why they're sore about it. A sore winner is just kind of like, no one likes a sore winner. You know, it's over time. That's not a personality type that people gravitate towards. But when we see it in the reverse position, it's actually understanding that, like, if you are winning at all costs, you're actually sacrificing a huge part of your ability to learn and grow and adapt and kind of alchemize situations into something that is overall more beneficial for you, more beneficial for the people in your life, and even potentially more beneficial for everyone, right? A win-win-win, which is really the goal. Not win and everyone else loses. Like, yes, that's a game that we can play, and sometimes it's fun, you know, sports and stuff like that. We want winners and losers, but in matters of like the heart and emotionally, kind of winning at all costs is something that really comes with a price, and it's usually a price that isn't worth paying, because it isn't something you should look at as like a winner takes all type of situation. It's just like it won't leave you feeling fulfilled or happy. It will leave you feeling kind of empty and potentially like a little bit blue. So this means that you probably will have a nice way of looking at a situation and seeing how, like, you know, you don't have to win at all costs. There can be some compromise. There can be some acceptance of other people's opinions and point of view in a way that helps you grow. And then we have the Ace of Wands here, very nicely coming in right hand, objectively using masculine analytical logic to see like, hey, there's something I'm passionate about this month. Why don't I focus my energy on that? Why don't I focus on my energy on moving towards something that's really like capturing my imagination and my passions and stoking my flames? There is going to be enough, like, one of the good things about like a lot of energy hitting you, even if some of it is like gnarly or difficult or like, you know, kind of overwhelming at times, is it's a lot of energy. And when a lot of energy comes, there's a lot of potential for change. There's a lot of potential for growth. You can kind of like piggyback onto that energy, even if it's intense and like kind of like, whoa, it actually allows you to kind of use it to direct that energy towards what is actually important to you. So if you can kind of play that game of recognizing, yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming my way. There's a lot of things that's kind of forcing me to go in and look at myself and take a good old hard look about emotionally where I'm at, where I can grow on, what I need to let go, what I need to work on and kind of continue to like add or feel. There's just energy for you to kind of use for your own kind of spells of your life or your manifestations, your desires, and kind of working towards those. So that's positive. It's just like a lot of energy is not a bad thing. And then we have the Knight of Swords, just again indicating that these months are moving. I don't know how fast July felt to you, Aquarius. For me, it was fucking lightning. And I understand we still have like 3-4 more days here in July, but fuck, it blew by. I think you can absolutely expect the energy to continue to feel like that for you too, Aquarius. For a lot of this summer, just being on track is like there is a focus and meaning to your life that you have set up for yourself, like stuff you want to learn, stuff you want to experience, stuff you want to improve and grow on, and just like kind of get the full plate of what you came here to live for. And that is like deeply important to you. And it's really like what you're supposed to be doing. That's going to keep doubling back and kind of like getting thrown in your face. You can't really ignore it anymore. Right. And further than not being able to ignore it, you also kind of have to deal with it. So it's not just that like, oh, this thing is like coming to me and it's like, kind of, no, I don't want to deal with it. It's like, no, you got to deal with this shit now, because if you don't, things will just continue to ramp up and get more and more chaotic to the point where it actually becomes quite difficult to kind of pull yourself out of certain states, whether that's like obsessive thinking or ruminating or just feeling defeated or lost or hopeless. Like, you're not there, but those energies may come at you when you're feeling sensitive in these months where you're getting slammed with full moons, you know, right when a month starts, and all of this energy just kind of like forcing you to go deep inside of yourself and see where you're at and how you feel. Use that as a positive sign. Like, we don't always have a perfect connection to our heart and to our feelings. It's not always so profound. I'm sure you've recognized points in your life where you feel a little bit emotionally closed off, whether that's in a relationship or just at the world at large. You know, you don't have that deep connection that allows you to kind of like stay in tune with what you really like feel like doing in life. So when this stuff does come, just be careful you don't complain and push it away that it's too much, because there are times where you wish you did have the ability to feel all of this energy, and be wary of just kind of classifying it as good or bad. It's more about how can you look at it as like opportunity. Opportunity and possibility should kind of replace the feelings of like negative or positive when it comes to the energy of August. It's not, this is a bad thing and a bad situation that's happening to me. It's like, oh, this is a situation that is loaded with juicy energy that I can use to really realize some things about myself and feel good about kind of where I'm at, and know how to use my emotions and my intuition in a positive sense, and not get caught up in, feelings of like guilt or remorse or resistance. So, it's good stuff, Aquarius. Let's pull some animal oracles. We'll flushel. It's definitely not the word. Shuffle these. Yeah, that's what we'll do. But yeah, it's lighter energy. I mean, I can tell you that just from doing the astrological research and just pulling these cards already. Like, you, Aquarius, had the heaviest July reading of anyone by a wide margin too. It was just like kind of relentless pressure and energy being thrown at you. And that doesn't mean like you had a bad month. I mean, I know Aquariuses who had great months. It just means it was a lot. It was a real lot to have to deal with energetically, and especially being forced to kind of go in and internally deal with stuff. In August, yes, it's somewhat continuing that energy, but it's certainly not slamming you. It's not the same level of intensity in terms of slamming, and it's not relentless. Otter spirit, you're never alone. And right, this gets back to what we're talking about. Like, this is the month to accept help. It's like, there's only so many times you can be told. It's an interesting looking otter, right? Otters are a little rapey. We won't focus on that. But it is a month, again, to really like lean on your friends. Maybe you're not the type of person who's comfortable asking for help. Or maybe you're not even the type of person who's like okay with accepting help, like genuinely. And I understand that. I'm usually not the first person who will reach out to someone and say, oh, I'm having a hard time. Like, can you help me? Is there something you can do for me? Like, it's not my natural tendency. So I get that, Aquarius. But there are certain times and periods where accepting help, seeking help even from other people in your life, is incredibly useful and auspicious and like a great thing to do. And this month is one of those times. So if you know anyone in your life who is kind of that person for you, or has offered help in the past and maybe you didn't take it, this would not be a bad month to potentially revisit that and see how you feel about it, and see that maybe it is a good idea to accept some help. And know that accepting help doesn't necessarily put you in a power dynamic where that person has something over you. That's not really what it's about. It's more about just like, some people genuinely just want to make your life easier. Maybe they really like you, go figure. But there is some element of this where if you have a resistance towards accepting people or help from others, that'll be a limiting factor that makes this month a little more difficult. Whereas if the more help you can get from people, in a genuine and authentic way, that's going to maybe give you some time for some real emotional space to figure out what it is you'd like to be doing and feeling, right? Cool. Starfish spirit. Is there 2 cards here? No. Starfish spirit, open to infinite possibility, right? And this, again, also goes back to having that multi-perspectival view this month. Don't get tunnel vision. Don't get locked into one idea of how things are supposed to be. That's probably just going to be uncomfortable for you. A, it's not true. B, it's just a limiting belief that is just not useful. It's not helpful. It will make you feel tight, like you're being put in something. I watched this TikTok video, and then I watched the YouTube of this guy who wanted to be like this Harry Houdini character and got buried under 3 feet of dirt and 4 feet of wet concrete. And the guy was not smart. I mean, it was a terrible idea. And he unfortunately did not make it, but it was really interesting to see the level of confidence that this guy had, where even though people knew this was like pretty much a death sentence and a horrible idea, he just was able to just make it seem like, no, he was going to be fine. He had done this before in some capacity, and he, unfortunately didn't make it. And I'm not laughing because he didn't make it. It was just like the hubris of this guy, that he got locked on, that he had to do this thing. This was his ticket to success. This was his ticket to being the greatest magician of all time. His name was the Amazing Joe. And, just seeing his relatives talk about him, it was like, gosh, this guy did not have a lot of allies in his life. And the price he paid for getting locked on to this wacky idea, and not in any way. I mean, there's one point the guy says to him, the reporter, he's like, concrete hardens from the bottom up, not the top down, which if you're trying to escape from, 4 dirt feet of concrete, like, that's important to know. And he was like, oh, really? Like, I thought it goes from the top down. He goes, oh, well, never mind. It's not important. Like, this is this. And he's just like, brush it off. And it's like, dude, maybe, like, no, you don't have to do this. So don't be the Amazing Joe this month, and don't get locked into the idea that you have to do this death-defying stunt and do it your way or the highway, and don't accept help from anyone else. And even if there are signs that maybe you shouldn't be pursuing this idea or this thing or this relationship, just run and go for it because you can do it and no one's going to convince you otherwise. Don't do that. Don't be the Amazing Joe. The Amazing Joe did not make it. And it was, unfortunately, almost comically hilarious how ridiculous it was for this guy even to attempt it. It just, what are you doing, guy? And so we don't want that. We don't want that this month, Aquarius. And so when we're open to all of our possibilities in life, it allows us to make smarter and better decisions. It allows us to actually be aware of possibilities that maybe hadn't crossed our mind. And, when you are open to many things, you have a lot more opportunities. You have a lot more possibilities in terms of like something good happening to you potentially. Coyote spirit, trust in divine detours. That's going to be a good one for you this month too, Aquarius. Like, things don't go exactly according to plan. Try to just like take a step back, see where you're at, see what kind of, juicy goodness is around you that maybe you wouldn't have experienced if things went exactly the way you wanted them to, because there may be some feelings of setbacks or kind of obstacles or things like that. And it's okay. Like, it is kind of recognizing the power of detours and the power of even getting lost at times and kind of rediscovering how maybe you even act when things don't go according to plan. Maybe this is meant to strengthen kind of your resiliency and persistence, if that's waned in recent times. And that can be one of the things that, happens when we get everything we want very quickly and easily. And when we don't, that's an opportunity to learn some stuff and about expectations and ideas and, just it's a positive thing. It doesn't have to be some like, oh, I'm in this wrong place. I fucked up. How did I get here? And now I have to claw my way out of this. It's not really about that. So, let's pull a Nature's Whispers. Everyone's favorite toilet paper card. Ideal course of action. Let's take a look at this too. Huh? And we see your sign, right? We see the water. Very much the water bearer. Gazing off at a castle in the future, right? Castle in the distance, I should say. And it's like, how do you get there? What's the course you're going to take? What's the circuitous path that you take to get to your dream of success, your dream of an ideal relationship, your dream of a partner who supports you in all of your endeavors and makes you feel loved and secure, especially for you Venus Aquarius placements? Like, what does that actually look like for you? How do you get there? Right? And again, this isn't like getting locked into one way of doing things. I'm telling you, if that's your solution, if that's what you keep falling on, you got to let that shit go during this full moon, right at the beginning of August. That's like the first thing to drop, to let go of, to surrender, to kind of offer up as like a sacrifice to the gods or energy in general. Don't get too bullheaded and so focused on this one perspective and idea. That's like the thing that I can feel kind of like slow you down this month if you do get fixated on the way things need to be, or they had to be like this. And it's going to kind of keep you trapped in a situation that won't let you kind of flow through things, which is what you're meant to do. You are the water bearer. You pour water out. Water takes on the shape of whatever vessel it's poured into and out of, right? That's the beauty of water. It flows. It literally can morph into different things depending on the vessel it's in. And that's kind of your job, right? To be like water, to flow easily and effortlessly into different containers and move it from one place to the other. It's literally moving your emotions and your unconscious and subconscious into different places to experience like the full gamut of your emotional life. If you've cut off certain aspects of your emotional life, maybe as a protective mechanism or something that helped you cope, sure, acknowledge that. Trauma responses come in many different forms. You should not feel a sense of shame or guilt for using them as such. It's just recognize that you need to open up aspects of your personality. So if you're feeling sensitive during this beginning full moon or continuing into August, don't view that sensitivity as something that needs to be suppressed and cut off. View it as an invitation to kind of go into it and explore, like, what are you sensitive about? Why do you feel like this? What is leading you to kind of this train of thought? If you need to cry, by all means, fucking cry your eyes out. You know, cry your pretty little heart out. It's totally okay. It's going to make you feel better at the end of the day. The thing that's going to probably make you feel worse is if you cut off that, if you don't acknowledge it, if you push it aside and say, no, I don't want to feel this. It's not for me. It's too scary. It hurts too much. That's not going to help. And you're probably going to end up in the same place of having to deal with it anyway. So you might as well just deal with it in a positive way when you have access to your inner world, when it is something that's kind of right at your fingertips for you to experience. Let's do some threads of fate. Get this otter out of there. I think this, you guys can chime in and let me know on the Patreon what we think of that. The warrior, absolutely. Sacred destruction, absolutely. It goes back to the theme of letting go. And the pillar, setting up the foundations. So I love this. Yes, you need to kind of like maintain a perspective and on one level fight for what you believe in, but not to the point where you're being stubborn and cutting off help from other areas. And yes, you need to let go of stuff that is no longer serving you. Absolutely. The idea of destruction for things that are no longer serving you and that are actually holding you back, like, let that shit go. Like, you don't need it anymore. It's holding you back. Destroy that shit. That is a feminine principle. Destruction and creation, both feminine principles. Giving life, taking away life, right? The wrathful deity of destruction and the beautiful deity of creation. That's simplistic, overly simplistic terms, but these are feminine energies, and you have a lot of access to these this month, Aquarius, coming into August, continuing out of July. Don't run away from that. Don't run away from that power, because this sets up the kind of pillar and foundation of your stability. Right? And that's who you are. You're a very powerful sign, Aquarius. Very powerful in a lot of different ways. And the more you can do to get in touch with your emotional world and your feelings, the stronger you will be for yourself, for people in your life, for intimate partners, and really can kind of shape your whole idea of success and who you are in the world to levels that maybe might be dreams right now. But you will start to see, oh my gosh, you will start to see signs of these things kind of prospering as you accept and get more in touch with kind of your feelings and what's going on. So let's pull a final card to kind of sum up the energy for August 2023 for you, Aquarius. Again, there could be some, dealing with childhood trauma, coping mechanisms, potentially abandonment issues, not feeling secure. And if those things come up, I'm reading a great book right now called The Origin Wound. Some things I really like, some things that I don't totally agree with, but for the most part, like, very good stuff. And it does invite you to kind of go back and look at where you may have developed trauma responses. Like, what were you not allowed to do as a kid that maybe would have been beneficial if you were allowed to do? Were you not allowed to speak your mind? Were you not allowed to be upset? Were you not allowed to anger your parents? Were you someone who had to kind of manage other people's emotions? And these things can leave long-lasting imprints. And I don't bring this stuff up to say that like trauma runs our lives, but it's certainly something that if we don't address and don't kind of get into, it can run our lives, and it can be a constant race to kind of avoid or not deal with heavy or hurtful emotions or kind of experiences that, once you transcend that and move through that fear, empowers you and enables you to be a much more complete and kind of divine presence for yourself and for other people in your life. So just know that yes, August is going to be another emotionally sensitive month, but more so than July, where it may have just felt like a lot of stuff kind of raining down on you. I think you're going to be able to see exactly why you're going through kind of chaotic or challenging experiences in August, and your emotional stability should be ratcheted up a level from July. So you're feeling more capable and powerful to deal with the things that come your way. And again, please accept gracefully and humbly all of the help you can get. There's nothing wrong. If your friends want to help you, if your family wants to help you, if your partner wants to help you, take that help. Your boss wants to help you, a coworker, like take the fucking help. You don't win any prizes by doing it alone, especially not this month, right? It's just not something that you are proving to anyone anything. You know, you're just doing it with the hand tied behind your back, and no one ultimately is going to recognize that or care. So just really be willing and open to accept stuff from other people. Any gifts or help or support they offer you should be accepted lovingly and graciously. But otherwise, I think it's going to be, you'll see the qualitative and feel the qualitative difference from July. Yes, it may still be dealing with themes of emotional kind of instability or feeling a little weird, but I think you're going to see the growth. I think you're going to really see the function and purpose underneath all this stuff that maybe has been going on these past couple of months. But that's your reading, Aquarius. I can see the audio recorded. Everything is well. So there you go. And probably later today, I will get to Capricorn. So I'll see